Hey guys, thanks for tuning in. Today's video is going to be on my 2006 Honda S2000. This car has almost 48,000 miles on it, and I am not sure if the previous owners had done a valve adjustment or not, so that's what I'm going to be doing today. But if you know me, whenever I do a job, I like to replace, all the little hardwares and gaskets, anything I come across. So I'm going to go ahead and walk you through how I'm going to do this valve adjustment and all the stuff that I'm going to replace as I do it. So I'll just take you guys along with me. This isn't necessarily a how-to, although I will put a little bit of how-to information in this video, but this is basically just to show you guys me working on my S2000 and what goodies I got for it. So first off, when doing a valve adjustment, obviously we are going to be taking out the valve cover. So brand new OEM valve cover gasket along with those grommets. I also have the spark plug tube seals, all four of those ready to go. And then while I have all the other things off of the valve cover, this is an O-ring for the, I think it is a crank sensor. Forgive me if I'm wrong, but there is a sensor on top of the valve cover. I'll show you guys here in just a little bit. So I'm going to replace the O-ring that goes on that sensor and then just a bolt that holds that in. Also, a brand new PCV valve. I know this stuff is all in packages, but I'll show it once I unpackage it whenever I get to this part of the job. But yes, I don't know if the PCV valve has ever been changed either. So new PCV valve, and then just some new clips for that, and then hardware for the valve cover. I'm big on hardware. I think, just the little touches just dress it up quite a bit. It is OEM hardware, but like these are kind of scuffed and just a tiny bit worn. So I got new of these bolts and the new of these bolts as well. And then there is that sensor. Where is it? Right there. That's the sensor I was talking about. So anyways, I've already done to move this out of the way, just unclip that from the firewall. I did remove my battery and I cleaned my terminals up. They're looking nice and shiny, really good. So I'm currently tending my battery. But anyways, so that's what I got going on. How about let's go ahead and get started. All right guys, so first I am going to take off these clamps. There's one right here to this tube and then one right here that is going to the PCV valve. So I'm just going to take my pliers and very carefully take these off so I do not mar the valve cover surface. All right, I'm having some difficulty getting this hose off. It is very much so stuck on there. So I'm going to try to take off this PCV valve first and see if I can get it off with it that way. So this is a 17 millimeter. Try to get my wrench on here and get this off. All right, now that I have the two tubes disconnected, including the PCV valve, I'm now going to undo the 4 bolts that hold on this cover right here. These take a 5 millimeter Allen head, or hex head, whatever you want to call it. VTEC! Now I can go ahead and take out each ignition coil. These are a 10 millimeter. Just gonna go ahead and take out each bolt, and then I can pull out the coils and disconnect them from the harness. I am also going to get out this sensor right here. This is a 10 millimeter bolt, and I'm going to disconnect the harness and then take this sensor out as well. It's stuck on there. All right guys, I got that sensor out. You just have to kind of rock it back and forth in order to get this out, and it finally came out. Next, I'm rocking these coil packs, just a little bit back and forth, and then I'm going to try to disconnect this harness from it. Everything is really stuck on my car. Everything is not wanting to budge and giving me a difficult time, but be patient, and there you go. They'll come out. So let's go ahead and get this one. And there is my coil pack. Okay, let's do that for the other 3 cylinders. All right, now that I got all of the coils out of the way, I'm gonna take this wiring harness, and man, that one's stuck on there. All right, okay, I'm gonna take this wiring harness part right here and just move this out of the way to the side. There we go. Okay, that should be good. All right, looks like all we need to do is take out the dipstick and undo these 5 10mm bolts holding the valve cover on, and then we should be able to attempt to take it off. Make sure you get these grommets off too, or else these will go flying everywhere, and you really don't want these going in your engine bay. You really don't want these going inside your engine, so these may be a little stuck on there. You may need to take a screwdriver to pry these off a little bit. Just these grommets like this. Take care not to lose those or drop them anywhere. Oh man, good thing I'm replacing mine. These are no, whoa. These are no bueno anymore, that's for sure. All right, let's attempt to take this off. I have 2 of those grommets remaining, but I can't get them off without maybe possibly scratching my valve cover, so I'm not gonna risk that. So let's just try to see if we can actually get this thing off. Okay, so we may have to pry at it a little bit, maybe with a screwdriver. I was hoping not to do that, but maybe if you have a rubber mallet or something, you can try it with that. Oh man, she clean. All right guys, I finally got the valve cover off. That was a struggle. This harness right here really makes it difficult, so watch out for this harness. It just kind of keeps the rear end of the valve cover from coming all the way up. But anyways, look how clean this engine is. Man, this is extremely clean. That is a good sign. This car does only have a little less than 48,000 miles, but man, looking good, looking good. All right guys, now that I have the valve cover off, next I am going to take the fuel injector rail cover off right here. This just pops off just like that. See, next we're gonna need to move this harness out of the way. All right guys, now I am ready to put the motor at top dead center. So there is a line there on the cam gear, and then a line there, and then also 2 lines on this gear right here, which will sit flush with the head. So I'm not going to go into great detail about what is top dead center or any of that, but in order to get it out top dead center, I'm going to use my 19mm wrench, and I'm going to turn the crankshaft bolt clockwise, and then I'm going to do that slowly until these are lined up. And also you can also tell the exhaust cam is at 11 o'clock and the intake cam lobe is at 2 o'clock. So that's how you tell. But mainly these 2 marks on the cam gears, look for those. And that will put cylinder number 1 at top dead center. After cylinder number 1, after I do the adjustment and all that, then I'll go to, it goes 1, 3, 4, 2. So that's the order. And each time you go to the next cylinder, you have to move the crankshaft to where the cam gears go 90 degrees. So like this mark will be, I believe will go all the way, or maybe it's this one, it'll be all the way at the top. So that's what we're looking at. Maybe I can throw a picture up or anything to better explain that in that detail. But I already tried rotating the crankshaft and it is giving me some resistance. So I still have my spark plugs in each of these tube seals. Well, they're still installed in the car. So I already planned to replace the spark plugs. These are the OEM ones by NGK, Laser, Platinums. There is the part number. So since I'm going to be replacing the spark plugs anyway, I'm going to go ahead and remove them because then I believe that will enable me to move the crankshaft easier. So I'm going to go ahead and get my spark plug socket and take out these spark plugs. Let's see what they look like. Well, here they are. This camera, it's a little hard to focus on there, but that is very typical. They are not too burnt, just a little bit of grayish, whitish on the tips, so that is very normal. Burning normal. These are also the OEM plugs that were in the car, so that's a good sign. Let's turn the crankshaft and get this thing at top dead center. Alright guys, important note here. Make sure your car is in neutral. I forgot that. Make sure your car is in neutral. That will make the cam gears and the crank and everything spin a lot more freely. Anyways, I finally got the cam gears at top dead center. May be hard to see on camera, but I have a line there on the cam gears facing each other. Also a line there on this gear and right here, so it's level with the head. So I know I'm at top dead center for cylinder number 1. Now, I've already started the adjustment and I have my adjustment here. The exhaust side, I wrote it down right here. Exhaust side is 0.010 through 0.011 inches or 0.25 millimeters through 29 millimeters. Let's concentrate on the exhaust only right now because that's what I'm working on. I have here a point, it's a little worn and hard to see, but I have here a 0.005 and a 0.127 millimeter. Now you're asking, or you're probably telling yourself, but that is literally half of the minimum for the exhaust. This is 0.005, the minimum is 0.010. And I'm actually going to run it on the looser side because the valves tend to tighten over time. So this is my goal right here, is a 0.011 of an inch. Anyways, my point is, with this feeler right here, on this valve, I'm putting this right there and I'm going to feel for it. This 0.005 cannot even get in this one. I'm trying right there and I can't even get it in there. That is bad. That means that this one is way too tight. And this other one right here, if I try to slip this in, let's see here. If I can get this one in. Okay, now I'm having trouble getting this one in. Okay, there I got in. So this one slides. This has like the perfect amount of drag. I'm gonna get a 0.006. This is just the next one up. I'm getting quite a bit of drag there. Now let's try a 0.007. Can barely move it, just barely. That is way too tight. So my point is the exhaust valves are incredibly tight. I have read online and seen in some other videos that is very common. The exhaust valves tighten up over time. And this car doesn't even have 48,000 miles yet, and Honda recommends a valve adjustment at 100,000 miles. I would highly recommend doing a valve adjustment sooner than every 50,000 miles. Highly recommend. I'd probably even say at 20,000 mile marks, I would do it, because these tighten up with time, especially if you drive your car harder or take it to the track or whatever, they tighten up. Now, I haven't even tried the intake valves yet, so I'm not certain if those are out of spec, but I can tell you so far in my findings, the exhaust valves are very much so out of spec. So good thing I'm doing this, guys. Good thing. All right, guys, intake is a maximum of 0.010 inches. and I just checked the intake valves on cylinder number 1, which are right there, and they were perfect. A .010 feeler gauge felt just right, and a .011 gauge was extremely difficult to get in there, so I think that one was just adjusted perfectly, so that's good. I also want to mention that in order to get to the intake valves, I had to completely disconnect the fuel injector harness, so there are a few tabs that I had to undo, and then I just unplugged the injectors. You just clip it. There are just two push pins on each end. You just push in and take it off. It's very easy. Took me like 1 minute to do. So I just moved those out of the way. So now I know that my intake is good on cylinder number 1, and now I need to get out my adjustment tool to adjust those extremely tight exhaust valves. So this is the tool I am using. This one is a Powerbuilt. Looks like part number is 648827. I got this off of Amazon. Whenever I got it, it was like 20 or 25 bucks. I'm not sure how much it is now, but I've had this for quite a while. I've done valve adjustments on my Integra GSR and my 1991 Civic hatch. So I've done at least a handful of valve adjustments. Oh, I've also done a valve adjustment on my 5.9 liter Cummins turbo diesel. So I've done valve adjustments on all of my cars. So now I get the pleasure of doing it on this beautiful S2000. So anyway, let me show you here. So basically, it has a 10 millimeter socket on the end of it, and then in the middle it has a flathead screwdriver. So you basically just put it on the jam nut, and then you put the screwdriver on the adjustment screw, which is in the middle of the jam nut, and you hold the adjustment screw as you knock it loose, and then you can either righty-tighty or lefty-loosey the valve adjustment, and then tighten it, and then recheck it and check it again, and then tighten down the jam nuts down to 14 foot-pounds. That is a quick overview of it. Now I'm gonna go ahead and mount this up, and let's see me do one real quick. So this is the exhaust. The exhaust is 11. I want it at 11. Oh, man. You just need very minor adjustments here. Just the slightest little move on this adjustment screw will make a very big difference. Little too much drag, I think. Try with my other hand here. This is all by feel. Just gotta get a feeling for it. It's an 11. Let me try 12. If I can find it. Hey everybody, so I was trying to do the valve adjustment on the other cylinders. Doing cylinder 1 is fine, but 2, 3, and 4 are a little bit more difficult because of this heat shield right here. It is held on by a total of 3 fasteners. 2 of them are underneath here. There's one right there, and then the other one is in this direction. I can't get a view of it, but down there. And the other one is towards near the firewall. It's kind of hard to see as well, but it's all the way down there. Maybe I can zoom in with the power of editing, but it's all the way down there. And that is a good distance because the heat shield comes all the way up here. So it is hard to get a wrench in there. I have a regular 10mm wrench, but it wasn't long enough, so I had to buy this guy right here. This is a 12-inch long 10mm ratcheting wrench, and this is what got it. I had to order this tool specifically for this job because it is almost impossible to get from underneath or from the top. So yep, this is the tool you need. And by the way, do not completely take out the bolt down there because this heat shield is slotted for that bolt only, so you can just take this up and out instead of, because it would be, man, it would take you so long to fasten that bolt up all the way down there because there is just no room down there at all, just no room. So yeah, just be aware of that. All right guys, so I have just finished the valve adjustment. After I adjusted each valve to the proper spec, I then turned the crank over 2 times. I rotated the engine twice, and that just kind of makes sure everything is set in properly. And then I went back to top dead center, and then I went ahead and checked each cylinder, both intake and exhaust, so every valve. Again, I double checked. Whenever you're doing this valve adjustment, this is very important and you want this to be correct. So I have my wrench right here on the crank. It's all the way down there, but yep, I just moved it cylinder to cylinder and double checked everything. Everything came out good. So now I'm going to put my tools up and put back on the valve cover. Valve adjustment is finally done. This was my first time doing it on this car, as I said, so it did take some time, but with this type of work, you want to be, well, you want to be patient. This may take a while, but this is something that you do not want to mess up. This is something that you need to take your time and do it correctly. So let's move on to the next step by putting everything back together. We got some nice new OEM parts sitting right over there. Okay, we are going to set the torque wrench to 20 foot-pounds. Okay, there it is. There we go. Hello?
Did you see the giant ant thing that just formed?
A what?
A giant ant farm.
All right, here is one of the sensors that goes on top of the valve cover. You can see there is an O-ring right there. So I have a brand new bolt, a brand new fastener to fasten this down to the valve cover, and then while I have this out, I have a new O-ring on it. So let's go ahead and change this O-ring. Simple as can be. Just get a pick it out. Let's see here, let's compare. Okay, this one isn't too bad, which I didn't really think it would be, but whenever I have stuff out, whenever I'm taking them out, and whenever they have O-rings or gaskets or anything like that, oops, I like to break them. No. So whenever they have gaskets or anything like that, I like to go ahead and put fresh ones on there. So let's go ahead and freshen this one up. And that's it. Perfect. Let's get this fastened back onto the valve cover. All right, next up we have a brand new PCV valve. Here we go. Let's go ahead and compare this to the old one, because the old one looked a little different. Maybe not in the inside. Let me see here. Okay, so here's the new PCV valve. This does has a crush washer on it, by the way. I need to put one on there. So I guess they look the same. I thought that the old one was open just a tiny bit more, which I think it may be, maybe only about a millimeter or so, but this part right here is open a little bit more. All right. Well, I'm gonna go ahead and get a crush washer and let's install that. Okay, there's that. Let's get a 17 millimeter, I believe this is. I think I'll use a ratcheting wrench for this. Go ahead and thread this in. That's a little too thick. All right, guys, so I have my torque wrench here. I have the brand new OEM PCV valve and crush washer in there. This is a 17 millimeter long socket, and we're going to torque this down to 33 foot-pounds. Awesome. Easy. Look at that. Brand new OEM hardware right there, ladies and gentlemen. Looking pretty damn good. I have hooked up this hose. Now, I just wanted to let you guys know that this PCV valve gets torqued down to 33 foot-pounds, and then these bolts get torqued down to 8.7 foot-pounds, or that's 105 inch-pounds. Brand new hardware to hold down my spark plug cover right there. There's the part number. Nice and shiny and fresh. Just like this hardware right there. All looking nice and clean.